It remains to be seen if either Marvel or DC abandon their short-term money schemes and think long-term industry health. Every month they don't address the big picture issues in the industry is 2 more months it will likely take to dig themselves out of this mess. June's comic book industry sales numbers are in, and it's a mixed bag. Total dollars sold is slightly up. Higher priced comic books are masking a much steeper decline in units shipped, indicating contraction in the direct market continues. DC Comics cut back their comic book and graphic novel production in response to declines. Marvel Comics is taking a different approach, continuing their flood the market strategy with reboots, events, and variant cover schemes. Marvel maintains a dominant market share of units and dollars sold, but currently produce only a handful of hit books. I'm going to cover a report on strategic market trends and give my analysis first. Then I'm going to dig into June's comic sales numbers and finer details. Finally, I'm going to cover Comicron's breakdown of June trends before I look into the numbers of DC Comics' Batman and Image Comics' Die, giving my thoughts on 2 series moving in different directions. Without further ado, let's talk about comic and graphic novel sales for the month of June. ICV2.com reports comics and graphic novel sales to comic stores were up a thin 0.36% over the year-ago period in June, according to information released by Diamond Comic Distributors, with comics up 3.56% and graphic novels continuing a soft spell with a 7.11% decline. For the first half of 2019, comics and graphic novel sales were down 0.49% versus the first half of 2018, with a 0.21% increase in comic sales unable to offset the 2.25% decline in graphic novel sales. Higher cover prices were clearly masking worse news for both the month and first half based on unit sale changes reported by Diamond Comics Distributors. Comics and graphic novel unit sales were down 5.27% in June, with comics down 4.63% and graphic novel sales down 13.13%. For the first half of the year, comics and graphic novel unit sales were down 5.19%, with graphic novels down 7.19% and comics down 5.03%. Marvel Comics had a massive share lead over number 2 publisher DC Comics, behind a title count for Marvel that is now twice as large as DC's. Marvel's share lead was over 16% based on dollars and over 22% based on units. Marvel Comics are extending market share domination over rival DC Comics by flooding the market in 2019. While dollars sold is slightly up for June 2019, it's masking the real issue. Unit sales continue plummeting for both comic books and graphic novels. 2019 is well on its way to the 4th consecutive year of market decline. DC Comics and Image Comics are downsizing their monthly comic book and graphic novels, resulting in decreases in market share. Marvel's flood the shelf strategy results in increases in dollars sold, but this is all accounted for by the extra titles they're releasing compared to 2018. On the surface, it looks like growth for Marvel, but given the increase in new products versus the previous year, their dollars sold should be increasing more substantially. Marvel is also currently bogged down by a glut of underperforming characters like Squirrel Girl, The Champions, Domino, and Wasp that seemingly don't have viable consumer bases. These, and many others, are in a constant cycle of decline, cancellation, and reboot. I'm surprised they haven't trimmed more of their dead weight in the midst of 4 years of market contraction. Newsarama is reporting Marvel Comics published more than twice the number of new comic book and graphic novels in June 2019 than DC, whose publishing volume more closely resembled Image Comics and IDW Publishing than its historic rival. But those numbers come with a caveat, according to figures released by Diamond Comic Distributors Friday morning. Marvel Comics Black Cat #1, the debut of the character's first ongoing series by Jed MacKay and Travel Foreman, was the month's best-selling by dollars and units. The first of 4 titles the publisher had in the top 10 by dollars and 5 by units. DC had 5 titles in the top 10 by dollars and 4 by units, including Tom Taylor, Trevor Hairsine, and Stephanie Guadagno's Deceased #2, ranked second by dollars, and Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo's Batman Damned number 3 by units. Image's The Walking Dead number 192, the now surprised penultimate issue of Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adler's series, was the 8th best-selling title of the month in dollars and 10th by units. DC's Superman Year 1 by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. did not place on June's units top, but the $7.99 volume placed third on the dollar chart. Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hahn's Die Volume 1, Fantasy Heartbreaker, was June's best-selling graphic novel by units. DC's Blackest Night Omnibus 10th Anniversary Edition was number 1 by dollars. Both Marvel and DC Comics are responding to the new market to prop their numbers up. DC Comics is focusing on Batman-centric miniseries, prestige format books with DC Black Label, and mini events. Batman, once the envy of all the industry, continues falling. I'm going to go in more detail on this later in the video, but this is the second month in a row Marvel's Immortal Hulk and Amazing Spider-Man were the top 2 ongoing titles. DC's next best-selling ongoing series is Detective Comics, currently shipping in the 60,000 range monthly. The Batman Who Laughs was recently extended to 7 issues and now leads directly into Josh Williamson's forthcoming Batman Superman series. It leads DC's newly started Year of the Villain event this summer and fall. It also features the extremely popular Batman Who Laughs, the standout character from the mega hit Dark Knight's Metal. DC dollar numbers are also propped up by DC Black Label books holding $6, $7, and $8 price tags. Now that they're watering it down with YA artists and random creators, they won't be able to maintain those prices or reader interest. The publisher also can't rely on Action Comics 1000 or Detective Comics 1000 selling between $6 and $8 million by themselves. Things are likely to get much worse for DC Comics before they get better. Marvel is inflating their numbers with various variant cover schemes, endless reboots to increase sales for premium price number 1 issues, and pointless event series. Marvel now features the 2 best-selling ongoing series in the industry, Amazing Spider-Man and Immortal Hulk. The big winners are Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. Immortal Hulk more than doubled its orders since the beginning of the year and may have topped 100,000 issues shipped in June. Still waiting for the raw data, but it passed both Batman and Amazing Spider-Man in sales last month. Despite these successes, Marvel continues propping their numbers up with premium price issues like July's quote-unquote landmark Spider-Man 25 and issue number 1s. Almost every Marvel title is on an endless cycle of reboots to increase the amount of number 1s and variant and incentive ordering schemes. Speaking of Marvel variant covers, look out for a video Tuesday unveiling the most disgusting Marvel variant cover scheme to date. I'll also be doing a special live stream with 2 retailers and at least 1 industry pro and other ongoing industry issues on Sunday. The upcoming Absolute Carnage event features one of the hottest creators in comics today. Donny Cates' event has a tremendous amount of reader buzz for its debut. Marvel just announced another event for late 2019, Contagion. I'm a fan of Ed Brisson, but he's not a marquee name by any means. The series also features 4 or 5 artists, basically screaming it was fast-tracked by C.B. Cebulski and his legion of doofuses led by Tom Brevoort and Jordan White. Every time Marvel gains momentum, they make an announcement like this and remind readers they're only interested in get-rich-quick schemes these days. Finally, Comic-Con analyst John Jackson Miller summed up June comic sales. We can say 2 things for sure about the first half of 2019. DC released a lot fewer comic books, and Marvel came close to taking every shelf space its rival vacated. The result was that Marvel beat its own dollar sales performance from the first half of 2018, but not by as much as its fewer new releases would suggest. DC's 374 new comics in the first half of 2019 was down 24%, or 115 comics, from the same period in 2018. Marvel's 615 new comics in the first half of the year represented a 20% increase of 102 releases, not quite enough to cover DC's shortfall. Image published 301 new comics in the first half of the year, down from 376. The total number of new issues in the first half of the year stood at 2,704, down 3%. The new title Austerity accelerated for DC in June as it published just 50 new comic books in the month, a new 28-year low for the publisher. Marvel more than doubled its total with 108. Marvel also more than doubled DC's total output of new graphic novels in the month, 43 to DC's 20. June also saw DC's smallest new graphic novel slate since March 2015. That could be an echo of the smaller new comic slate, where there are fewer new titles out. Logically, there are fewer issues to collect in the square-bound editions. But, as mentioned above, there's a difference in what each of the titles published contributed to the retailer's bottom lines. DC may have released 24% fewer new comics in the first half of the year, but retailers' orders of DC publications in dollar terms were only down 5%, or about $4 million. It helps when there's a Detective 1000 in the mix. If there had been two, it'd be up for the year. Meanwhile, Marvel, which just saw its June dollar sales up 13%, aided by top-selling Black Cat #1, has moved 7% more dollars worth of material into comic shops in the first half of 2019, an increase of about $7 million over the same period in 2018. Why isn't it larger, given Marvel's increase in releases? Again, it's what many of them are. Marvel appears to have released 59 different True Believer comics in the first 6 months of 2019. They account for almost half of Marvel's slate of increase, even though their $1 price tag means they don't add a lot to the dollar totals. Before I sign off, I want to talk about a couple series moving in opposite directions. If you follow the channel, you know I'm not a fan of Tom King's recent Batman series. Since issue 50, The Wedding, Batman has lost nearly 40,000 series orders, and it isn't slowing down. It's important to keep things in perspective. Batman is still a sales juggernaut for DC, but 40,000 issues sold is a top 40 book by today's standards. They've lost 2 top 40 books worth of sales monthly since The Wedding. They may never get those sales back. Reader trust in DC Comics is bottoming out rapidly. Batman sales haven't been this low since 2011. Think about that. Batman was previously impervious to 3 years of market contraction, but couldn't survive Tom King's low-T, pretentious take on The Dark Knight. Perhaps the announcement of King's Batman exit on issue number 85 increased interest on the title, but DC needs to nail his replacement. They need a big-name writer who readers trust with the character. In my mind, Grant Morrison fits the bill perfectly. If I had my way, Bryan Hill would be elevated to the flagship series, but I doubt he's a big enough name for DC to hand him the keys to Batman. After the recent success of Deceased, I'm actually expecting Tom Taylor to take over Batman. He's proven much more competent at DC Comics than Marvel, but I doubt his ascension to lead Batman writer would be received as well as many think. Image Comics has a bit of an issue at the top of their sales chart after The Walking Dead ended abruptly. The only other series they currently feature shipping over 20,000 issues is Spawn, which should get an enormous boost with milestone issues 300 and 301. I expect hit series Saga to exit hiatus in the near future, which will also give them a much-needed sales generator. In the meantime, Image Comics needs to identify and promote their next hit book. I believe Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hahn's Die may be their next breakout hit. The series had strong orders for issue 1 and the expected drop in books shipped on issue 2, but at issue 4 it experienced a slight increase in orders before a near 10% increase for issue 5. The recently released Die Volume 1 Fantasy Heartbreaker topped June's graphic novel unit ship list, indicating strong interest in the upstart title. Issue 1 is currently on its 5th printing, a very strong showing for an indie book that shipped nearly 30,000 copies to begin with. Every other issue is on its 3rd printing except issue 5, which is on its 2nd. All good indicators that Die is experiencing strong word of mouth and developing a following among readers. It's one of my personal favorite comics on the market and features some of the most stunning visuals currently available. Look for Image to put a bit more marketing behind the series and see if Die can replace some of those lost Walking Dead sales. That wraps up my analysis of June's comic industry sales. Comic book and graphic novel sales continue shrinking well into 2019. The industry is on pace for a 5% decrease in units shipped compared to 2018. Marvel and DC are propping their dollar sold figures with various pricing and marketing schemes, but it can't mask the fact contraction continues. Both are responding to the new market in vastly different ways. It remains to be seen if either Marvel or DC abandon their short-term money schemes and think long-term industry health. Every month they don't address the big picture issues in the industry is 2 more months it will likely take to dig themselves out of this mess. Please join me in about a month when I break down July's comic industry sales. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.